Yo, what up? Welcome to Mo Boxing No Problem. I'm Jose Maria Jr., and I'm joined by my co-host David, aka Sports and Tunes. And today we have a special guest. We got an amateur boxer from Team Canada, Nyousha Nakhjiri.
Hey.
How's it going? Did I do okay with the last name?
Yeah, actually, better than most.
Thank you. No, I know me growing up, I'm used to my last name getting butchered. And I was like, hopefully I don't butcher it too bad.
Yeah, that was pretty good. That was really good.
All right, perfect. Well, the first question we want to ask you is about your start in boxing. At what age did you start boxing, and ultimately, what got you into boxing?
I started at age 18. I'm 25 now, or about to be 26. So it's been just about 8 years that I've been in boxing, and I mean it's a bit of a long story of how I got started, but bottom line is I've played all sorts of sports growing up, never boxing though, and then I was going through like some rough patches in life, as you do when you're a teen, and then getting into a little bit of trouble. And I just wanted to try something new to kind of bring myself back to a good system, get active again. So I decided to try a boxing class, and then it just stuck.
And the rest is history.
There you go.
And then can you tell us the name of the gym you train out of, and then what kind of atmosphere is at that gym? Is it overly serious, or is it just people having a good time?
It's Griffin's Boxing and Fitness. That's the gym I started at. That's where I am today. Obviously, like now I've made Team BC and Team Canada as well, so it's I'm a part of all three essentially. But I train at Griffin's every single day, pretty much. And when I first started, I think that's one of the main reasons that I stuck to boxing, because it's not your typical boxing gym. It's a little bit of everything. There's an amateur fighters team. There's, fitness classes for, all kinds of demographics, moms, kids, children, youth, everybody. And then there's the technical boxing classes. That's for the people who want to eventually get up to a fighting level.
That's good. So it's not overly intimidating with like everyone pro level or aspiring to be pro.
No. I think honestly, like it's still intimidating. I think any boxing gym, like I remember I was still like probably the only girl in most of the classes that I took. But it's changed now. Even over the last 4 or 5 years, there's a lot more girls. It's like maybe 30 to 40% girls in those classes. But especially when I first started out, it was like usually 1 or 2, maybe 3. So there's still a little bit of intimidation, but not as bad as a lot of the old-fashioned boxing gyms that you walk into, and there's just like 30 dudes who are shirtless and just it out of each other.
Right. No, absolutely.
Yeah. Would you say there's a growth in gyms opening up now in Canada?
Oh yeah, for sure. Boxing itself, like it is growing a lot in Canada over the last few years. Not everywhere, like some provinces are better than others, but where I'm at and over in Eastern Canada, yes.
Nice.
It's great to see. I love seeing the sport of boxing growing. And we got a comment here from Tupac 13, all the way from San Diego, California, saying salute everyone.
Salute.
So salute Tupac. And then Nyousha, I want to ask you, about your background. So obviously you're a Canada national now. You represent Team Canada, but you were born in Iran, correct?
Yeah, that's right.
Can you share a little bit about the story about how kind of you and your family, made your way from Iran to calling Canada home?
Yeah, for sure. So I moved from Iran, I think I was 11 or 12 years old. It's a bit of a long story. At the time, I didn't want to move. I was really sad to be leaving my friends, the only place I knew. But I mean, you guys might have seen a lot of stuff going on over the news about Iran as of late. It's just kind of an extension of what's been going on over there over the last 40 some odd years. And it's a very it's a terrorist government essentially, and they we aren't given a lot of the freedoms that we're given over on this side of the world, especially women. We don't get very many options at all. you're forced to wear hijab, you have to conform to a certain religion, you have to, you can't show your hair, women can't go to stadiums, women can't become athletes other than maybe like 2 or 3 specific sports. We aren't allowed to ride bicycles or be singers. There's so many things that you just can't do. And, at the time being at that age, like it didn't feel like that restrictive because that's all you know.
Right.
But coming over to Canada with my family, as hard as it was, all the opportunities I've been given, there's no way that I would be boxing if I was still in Iran. I don't know where I would have been, but definitely not here.
Yeah,
Right.
and you're spot on. I think once you actually, travel and see other places, you realize that shouldn't be the norm. Yeah, shouldn't be accepted. And then, go ahead, David.
Do you take pride in your roots, and would you consider doing a double-sided flag, holding both flags on your fights?
Oh yeah, for sure. Honestly, it's such a weird thing to think now, looking back. When I first moved to Canada, and we first moved to Calgary, which is, predominantly white people only. And then now I've been in Vancouver over the last 10 years, which is a lot more multicultural. But, first moving to Canada, you're a kid and you just want to fit in. So it's almost weird. Like it's terrible to say, but I was a kid. So I was almost embarrassed of where I came from and having an accent or just being able to like learn English, I just wanted to be like everybody else and fit in. So, it's been a long journey of getting to this point where I'm just so extremely proud of coming from Iran, and I'm so proud of my culture and my heritage. And the more I've grown up, the more I've, asked more about our history from my parents, and the stuff going on right now, especially, it just hits so close to home now, even more than it did when I was younger.
Yeah,
absolutely. And you have nothing to worry about. Your English sounds perfectly fine.
Sounds better than mine.
Yeah, and mine.
And then next question, Nyousha, do you have a nickname yet?
Oh, that's a tough one. No, not one that's
stuck yet.
How much? I'm not gonna say the ones that I really hate because I don't want to give it any more.
Yeah, it might be the one that sticks. Yeah, it might be the one that sticks.
Well, the only one that I haven't like completely hated so far is one of my teammates pointed out that he was like, "Wait, you're flyweight, right?" And then I go by Nai, which is not like my full name is Nyousha, but I go by Nai around the gym. And I fight at flyweight, and then I was wearing my fly gloves the other day. So my friend Johnny, who was like, "Oh, you should just be Fly Nai," and I was kind of like, "Okay, I could." Like, I don't hate it as much as the other ones that they've tried to give me. So, maybe that's a working start.
Yeah, that sounds pretty good.
It's got potential.
There's potential.
Yeah. All right. And comment here from Tupac13 says, "Do you guys believe love at first sight?"
Oh, I think someone's in love. Hey.
What's your answer to that, Nye?
I mean, personally, no, but to each your own. I am surprised though. Like, if you guys notice, I'm like looking lopsided with the one bruised eye and the one normal.
Yeah.
But I didn't put makeup on one eye and forget the other one. Just letting you know.
It's all good. It's all good.
Great. All
Part
good.
of the plan.
And then the next question, Nye, you're rated the #1 flyweight, out of Canada per Box Rec. What does that mean to you to be considered, the best in your country?
It means a lot. Honestly, there was a time that I couldn't even see myself being in the top 10. It's been a long few years of fighting and getting experience and like finding confidence in my skills and my ability, because only like a year and a half ago is where, or our last season is where I got ranked the #1 in Boxing Canada and got selected to represent Canada on the national team. So at the time, like, it was still a process of like me having imposter syndrome and thinking, oh, it's just a fluke. They must have made a mistake. But, I've been around now and, 43, 44 fights.
Mm-hmm.
And I've been traveling all over the world, especially over the last couple of years. I've been to so many different places. And I'm at a place where I'm confident in my ability, and I think I do deserve that number one spot. So, it's a little different of a perspective. I used to think it's luck. Now I know for sure I've earned it.
Yeah.
How hard has it been for you to work your way up? Have you had a lot of difficult fights, or has it been pretty smooth going?
It's never going to be an easy road. I can't pinpoint one fight and say it's like such a difficult fight that I couldn't get past. It's more so just the entire journey. Yeah, I've had fights that were more winnable than others, and like I've had an easier time with. I've definitely had tough fights over the course of my career. Like I fought Olympians, I fought other national champions. And I think as much as, those fights are hard to, beat and hard to train for, I don't think that's the most difficult part of the journey. It's just generally like dealing with COVID, dealing with things that are thrown in your way, dealing with maybe certain losses that at the time affect you a lot. So it's more of the mental side of it, and also obviously like training itself is the day-to-day, is the lifestyle. That's the hard part.
Yep.
Absolutely.
Yep. A lot of dedication. And when you meet new people now, how do they react when they find out you're a boxer?
Oh, I've had people straight up tell me I'm lying. Like, just like, I'm not, but okay, like, it's fine. I guess it's more believable if I have a bruised eye or something, but that's not all the time. Most of the time I actually look pretty normal. And yeah, I think, I get a mix of different reactions. I get, like a little bit of condescending comments here and there. Because they obviously don't know. Like, honestly, the stereotypical boxer girl at the gym isn't someone who's like fully serious training to become an Olympian or best in the world. So I get that, but it's definitely a few comments here and there that are a little condescending. There are some people that just like straight up don't believe me. And then there's a lot of people that think it's like super cool. But I think that, for the most part, people are just surprised to hear that.
Yeah,
Definitely.
Yeah, much respect to everyone that pursues boxing as a career. Yeah.
Thanks.
And then, can you tell us of some of the places that you visited around the world as part of your tournaments?
Yeah, just this last year, the last one I've been to, I've been all over the country, in Canada. So Ontario, Montreal, Winnipeg, Calgary, Edmonton, all over BC, which is my province. And outside of Canada, I've been to the States a few times, Seattle, Portland. I'm actually looking to book a fight in San Francisco next month, hopefully.
Awesome.
Close to you, Jose?
Yeah.
Bay Area.
Oh, I'll make sure to say hey. But yeah, we'll see if it gets confirmed. I'm not 100% sure on that one, but it could be a good tournament. And then been to Bulgaria this past year, been to England, London, Manchester, Ireland, Netherlands, Mexico a couple of times for fights, and training camps.
Great,
Yeah, like
just collecting those stamps on the passport, huh?
That's
oh
awesome.
yeah, it's pretty full right now, but there's a lot more places that I need to be going over the next year or two, especially.
Absolutely.
Yeah, they see some things you uploaded on the Mazatlan, Mexico trip. That seemed like so much fun. For all the places you've visited so far, which has been your favorite?
Ooh, I have different ones that are my favorite for different reasons, but like Mazatlan was one that I loved, not just because of what a cool place it is and the boxing, but also the group of people that I was with. I think the main part of what makes the travel experiences good or not good is the group that you're with. And I haven't really had any bad ones, but some of my favorite ones were Mexico. One was Netherlands because again I went with a group from Boxing Canada and my own head coach Dave, who coaches me at Griffins, but he was also selected to be one of the coaches for Boxing Canada. So that group in particular was amazing. London was really fun. Yeah, I think those are probably my top three.
Nice. And then, Nye, do you have a goal of going to the Olympics?
Yes. Yeah, that's what we're doing right now. I mean, obviously there's a lot of different steps to get there, but I think I'm on my way right now. The next thing is Nationals 2023, which I leave in a week for. It's in Eastern Canada, Ontario. So I'll be headed out there. I have to win, and then yeah, I will be winning, and then preserve that number one spot in Team Canada, and then from there, the next big thing is going to be World Championships, which is in March in India. And then after that is another series of Canadian qualifiers for Pan Am Games and Olympics. So I think by the end of the year, we'll have a definite answer. But yes, that's a goal that we're working towards right now.
Busy.
Yeah, busy. We got a comment here from Bruce, Gas Boxing, Jazz, and more. It says, salute, brother, at Mo Boxing.
Salute.
Follow. So salute, Bruce. All right. And then for the next question, we mentioned about the Olympics. So you also have a goal of turning pro one day.
Yeah, for sure. Before I hadn't given pro too much thought, to be honest, but over the last couple of years I've been thinking about it a lot more. Right now the plan for me, or I guess the goal for me, is to go to as many high level amateur tournaments as possible over the next couple of years. Go, win nationals, go to world championships, go to Pan Am Games, and go to Olympics and whatever other huge international tournament I can get to. And then, that's the type of experience I need before I go pro, because once you go pro, it's, kind of starting back at the bottom a little bit and building it back up to those higher levels. So I'd like to get as many high-level amateur fights over the next couple of years, and then ideally turn pro just after Olympics, or at the end of that year.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I know a lot of pro boxers had to turn pro earlier than they wanted to because of the pandemic, so they couldn't make their Olympic dreams come true. So I think in your scenario, definitely should go for the Olympics and then pro afterwards.
Yeah, for sure.
And have you been, I know this is probably like a very long-term question, but have you given any thought to like a dream future opponent in the pros?
Oh, that's a tough one. I don't know if I would say I have a dream future opponent. There is a female boxer super close to my weight that I love, Nyousha Estrada, if you guys heard of her.
Bad.
Yeah.
We've had her on here for an interview as well. She's really cool.
Very nice person.
Yeah, she seems awesome, and I'd love to either like be there as a sparring partner for one of her pro camps, or something like that. Maybe by the time I turn pro and she's still, big on this scene, like I'd love to be in the ring with her for sure. But it's more so I would love to get that experience and be in the ring with someone like her. I know there's other people closer level around those weights, but I haven't given it that much thought. I also think that by the time I go pro, the women's boxing scene will just be so much bigger. From the amateurs that I've seen over the last few years, I don't think women's boxing is going to look anything like it does right now. I mean, right now it's still a huge improvement, if you compare it to 6 or 7 years ago. But some of the high-level amateur females that I've seen is, it's no longer like you see the men's boxing and it's super high level, and then there's like 2 or 3 high level women's. It's looking pretty neck and neck. Like in the high level amateur tournaments, the women's boxing is just as entertaining as men's, which is so cool to see being a female boxer. So I think by the time this new generation all turns over to pro, it's going to be a really competitive space.
Absolutely, and you shouldn't be having any trouble getting fights, because we've noticed that women's boxing, they're more willing to make fights happen, as in men's boxing and so many politics get involved and we don't get to see the fights we'd really like to.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, honestly, I think that's probably why women's boxing is growing, like it is right now, is because you guys are not avoiding the tough fights or the tough fighters. You guys are getting in there, and I know it's more common practice now to see women, main eventing, which is awesome. We got the Mana Serrano, Katie Taylor card last year. We had the all-female card in the UK with Clarissa Shields and Savannah Marshall, which is also really good to see. And one fight that I want to ask you about, Nai, I'm not sure if you saw it recently, but it was in Canada, and it was Jessica Neri Plata versus Kim Clavel. Did you have a chance to see that? And if you did, what was your thoughts on that fight?
Yeah, I saw most of it actually. I didn't get to watch the whole fight, but I saw most of the rounds. Yeah, I think that was a really impressive fight. It was a good fight. Um, I'm actually in a little group where we kind of try to predict the results of these fights. And I had a hard time picking the winner for that one because I saw that Neri, she's super experienced. She's had a lot of fights and she's really tough. But Kim Clavel also, like, she's one of those upcoming boxers that I think they're also trying to really build. So I know that Neri coming over to Canada, she wasn't the favorite, but I honestly did think that she would give Kim Clavel a really challenging fight, and she did, and she, showed her out. She definitely did what she needed to do in there to beat Clavel. It was a tough, entertaining fight.
Yeah, 100% agree. I would not mind seeing the rematch if it happened.
Yeah, for sure.
All right. Next question for you. Do you have a dream venue in mind that you want to fight out of?
I don't know, maybe the MGM, like something like that. That would be sick.
The Mecca, that's what we were talking about, the Mecca of boxing.
Yeah, this morning we had a Tanya Alvarez who's fighting Sky Nicholson at the MGM, and she's
fighting in the MSG.
Oh, MSG. Oh, never mind. MSG. So yeah, so I guess not.
But
the
she
MGM,
said that she would love to fight at the
that's
MGM at the
that's
casinos.
true. I
that
mean,
would be amazing. I mean,
Las
that's
Vegas.
the dream for any boxer, I think.
Yeah,
100%. And then, Nai, is it challenging to get good sparring?
It is and it isn't. I mean, if you're willing to spar the guys, which I am, then I have some really good sparring at my gym. We have two of the top 125ers in our province, if not in the whole country, that I get to spar all the time. And actually now 3 almost. There's another guy at 132-ish. So yeah, I get good sparring with them. We have a couple of girls a little bit heavier than me who are now getting enough experience that they're also really tough sparring, and it's good work. They don't have as much experience than me, so after a few years of the same people, like, it does get tough because if you just spar the same 4 or 5 people over and over again, it's not the same as sparring new people because you get too used to each other and you don't have to think as much and be as, like, be on your toes as much. So I do try to go around and get new sparring with different people. There's another girl who's in BC and she was an Irish national champion, but she lives in BC now. So we just got some sparring with her. That was really good work. Hopefully many more to come. Yeah, there's a couple of other really high level girls around BC as well, but you guys know Canada is so big and everybody's just so spread out. So like the closest person other than the girl I just mentioned is on the island, which is, a 3-hour trip away. So it's a little bit hard, but we try to make it work. My coach does his best to arrange sparring. And again, like I have no problem sparring guys. So a lot of times we'll go to different gyms and I'll just spar guys closer to my weight class.
Right.
Makes sense.
And I bet you they get all surprised too. They're like, no way, this girl wants to box us. She's not a boxer. And then they get beat up.
I think now we're at a place that like the communities, once you're in the boxing community and you've been around for long enough, then everybody kind of hears about each other. So I don't get as many reactions like that going to other boxing gyms because we all like know each other a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, for sure, especially a couple years ago, everyone would just be like, oh, like you go in with her, and then they come into the ring with me and they don't throw a single punch because they don't think I can take it. And then once my coach has to yell at them, like, no, like just spar normally, just like you would any other guy. And that's when you get good work.
Nice.
Yeah. I mean, as the old saying goes, iron sharpens iron. So you gotta both bring your best.
Yeah,
Yep.
for sure.
Next question for you, Nye. When it comes to preparation, do you watch a lot of tape on your opponent, or do you mostly focus on you and making improvements to your style?
A little bit of both. Like the thing is with amateurs, a lot of times like you don't get a ton of notice. So especially if it's a tournament, we try to prepare ourselves the best we can by finding out maybe who might be entered in the tournament and doing a little bit of homework on each of them just to have a general idea. But at the end of the day, if it's a tournament, you go there and there's a draw and you might not get any of them and you might get somebody new. So in those cases it's hard, and like over the 1 or 2 days that we get, we'll try to find some info. We'll at least just the basics, like are they southpaw or orthodox, tall or short, aggressive or counter puncher. A little bit of those general ideas, and that'll just give me something to work with. And I'm pretty confident in my ability to just, worst case scenario, if I can't find anything on them, get into the ring and figure it out. It's a lot of it is experience, but it's also like I've done the prep work to know whether they're tall or short or southpaw or fast or a big puncher. I can deal with it all. I just gotta figure it out and make adjustments. But then, yeah, if there's club shows or if it's a fight that we get a ton of notice for, then for sure, yeah, we'll look into who it is that we're going to be facing.
Nice. And have you had any injuries during your boxing career? And if yes, which has been your worst injury?
I played soccer for most of my life growing up. I hate calling it soccer, by the way. It's football.
Football.
Being Iranian, like we call it football. Like I still don't fully understand the word soccer, but I'll use it just because
it's the U.S. likes the biggest
debate. It's the biggest debate out here in the Western Hemisphere.
It's foot and a ball, like
soccer. Yeah,
touch it with your foot.
Right.
But yeah. So playing soccer for all those years, like I've done quite a lot of running, and then once I transitioned over into boxing fully, I started to get a little bit of plantar fasciitis, which is a big boxer problem. Like Josh Taylor is out with that injury right now. But so it's a little bit of on and off issues with the calves, like if you do way too much running. So I just gotta be, over the few years I've figured out how to manage it so that it doesn't give me problems, and also learning to take the rest when I need to, because I think a lot of fighters would agree that we can be pretty stubborn and want to keep training through injuries, and then we make it worse, and then you have to take longer. But yeah, that's been one. I got a broken nose a couple of times a few years ago, sparring somebody who was 195 pounds and novice. So they just like threw haymakers. That's what novice people do. But that one, it sucked for a month or two because I couldn't really spar, but it wasn't the worst of it. I had a rotator cuff injury. That one was probably the worst because it takes the longest to heal.
Mm-hmm.
But on the other side, like, it was a blessing in disguise because once my right shoulder was messed up, I had to work on the jab. I had to like sharpen up my left hand, and if it wasn't for that, I probably would my left hand wouldn't be as good as sorry. It wouldn't be as good as it is now because I honestly like I have a really nice left hook. I have a good jab, and I think I worked on it the most during that time that my right shoulder was messed up. And yeah, I even had like a couple fights just using my left, and I won those and did really well. So yeah, I think at the time it sucked, but at the end of the day, it was a good thing that happened.
Yeah, way to turn a negative into a positive.
Absolutely right.
All right, then we have K-Rod joining us with a yo.
Yo.
And also salute from Albany, New York, by way of MoMA, Florida. Hope you do well in your career.
Thank you very much.
Absolutely. And then next question. Who has been the hardest puncher you've been in the ring with, either in sparring or in your pro fights?
Oh, that's a tough question. I would say probably one of my most consistent sparring partners who hits really hard is shout out Delise. He's one of the guys that I mentioned, trains at my gym, and he's a 125er, the best 125er in BC. And I think this year, based off nationals, probably going to be the best 125er in Canada. But it's tough to say because you can be the hardest puncher, but there's other people that like there's harder punches that you can get caught with.
Mm-hmm.
I've been in the ring with harder punchers than that, but I just haven't been caught with anything that big. Otherwise, like, I've been in the ring with my teammate who's one of the top Team Canada guys at 165 and so on and so on, but they haven't tried to take my head off, so that's a little different.
That's good.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah, and you hit on something like very key there, Nye, because we saw it on Saturday with the Chris Eubank Liam Smith fight, where Liam Smith isn't known as a puncher, but he caught Chris Eubank with a perfect punch and knocked him out.
Liam Smith.
Yeah, with Liam Smith, that was
perfect. Exactly. That was a big. I didn't expect that at all. It was a pretty closely matched fight. I had Eubank personally, but I think nobody saw that fight getting stopped because they're both tough and they're both experienced. So I had it going to a decision, but that was like you said, it just takes one shot to turn the whole fight.
Absolutely.
And then, who was your favorite boxer growing up?
I'd just say Muhammad Ali. Honestly, like, I didn't watch a ton of boxing when I was a kid because in Iran it's kind of unheard of, or it just seems like this like idea of something that used to exist. But I didn't even think like competitive boxing was still, a real thing until I moved to Canada. But I just loved watching Muhammad Ali. Like, that's I think if any one boxer inspired me to try a boxing class, it was watching some of his fights. And I think, more so as a person than just an amazing boxer. Because obviously, like, there's a lot now. I love watching boxing. I study it all the time, and there's so many different boxers that I love watching, and who inspire me. But yeah, I think the one that I remember watching and thinking like maybe I could try that is Muhammad Ali.
Good choice.
One of the greatest. And now, bring it to present day night. Who do you consider to be the number one pound for pound fighter?
Currently, or
currently, modern day.
That's so hard. That's such a hard question. I don't know. There's so many, there's so many good fighters out there right now. The problem is, like, the best aren't fighting the best all that much, so it's hard to say who's actually the best. But I'll just like off the top of my head, like love watching Errol Spence Jr., Tyson Fury. I wish I could like if I'm going best fighters of all time, like I'd throw like Roy Jones from that era. But right now, I think Fury, Errol Spence, Crawford is definitely like there for contention. I think Spence beats him. Not to start anything too controversial, but
let's actually jump into that one, because we do have a segment kind of called the Fans Corner, where we ask you some matchups of who you think is going to win, and one of the matchups on there was actually Spence Crawford. So how do you see that playing that out?
Yeah, I think Errol beats him. I think it's still going to be a really tough fight. I think it'll be close and it'll probably go to a decision, but I just think Errol is a little bit more technically sound. Like Crawford is explosive and he's great at adjusting, but he's a little smaller, and I don't think he's fought anybody on Errol's level. So yeah, I think that's my prediction. I think that Errol beats him, and I think that maybe in a few years, Jaron Ennis beats both of them.
He's really good.
Jared Ennis.
Yeah.
Boots.
Yeah, he's a really good prospect for sure. Other ones, like for example, the heavier weight classes, like I really like Benavidez. I think David Morrell is another amazing prospect. I think around those weight classes, I would have him beating everybody. Maybe not right now because he's still considered a prospect, but everybody as in Plant, Canelo, Benavidez, like all of the top people in that weight class. I think David Morrell is gonna be right up there. But yeah, no, again, all those names that I mentioned, they're all amazing. There is a lot of good talent out there. I think Inoue is another.
Inoue. I was gonna mention. Yeah,
he's an amazing fighter. I study his fights a lot because obviously he's closer to my weight class too. So
that's exactly what I was gonna say.
It's always like good to study people that are close to your weight, because I can never fight like Tyson Fury. It's just not gonna work out for a 114-pounder.
Yeah, tough to emulate a heavyweight. Yeah. I'll read some of the comments here from K-Rod. He says, long live Canada. Lennox Lewis is the GOAT of the North. LOL. New York honors him deeply. LOL. Nice. And then here a comment about Errol Spence. Says, EJ is Big Fish Nation, aka Ermac / Smoke of Mortal Kombat, i.e. Elder God's most dangerous weapon.
Yeah, Errol Spence Jr.
There you go. And then he said David Stevens is a monster. He's with Ronnie Shields. Yeah, I think he just fought this past weekend, if I'm not mistaken.
Yep.
Yeah, he did good. And then I think it's like you got the questions ahead of time, because one of the other fights we wanted to ask you about was Dave Morrell Jr. versus Dave Benavidez, if that happens in the future. So,
I guess I covered that one already, but I think that David Morrell beats him. He's like, if you guys watched his last fight, it was so impressive. He fought somebody who's, Olympian, super high amateur pedigree, and with only like 7 pro fights, he just outclassed him. So, I think David Morrell, not enough people talk about him for sure.
Yeah, for sure. They will soon.
He's going to be the one to upset everybody.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
All right. Next fight I want to ask you about, this is kind of the rumored rematch between Katie Taylor versus Amanda Serrano.
That one, that was another, top fight of 2022, I think. Honestly, I had it so close. Like, I could have seen a draw. I could have seen Serrano winning a split. It was that close. So I just think maybe Serrano put up a little bit too much gas at the start, and Katie Taylor finished a little stronger, but I think a rematch is definitely something that I would love to see.
Yep.
Yeah, it'll be another
Maybe
fight.
tough for Serrano though, because if it happens, I think it would be in Ireland, so even more mental pressure.
Yeah, it would be.
Isn't that what the one for MSG? Isn't that the one that's happening in the Madison Square Garden?
No, the one that's coming up right now is Mana Serrano versus Erica Cruz.
Oh yeah. And that's the one where the girl we interviewed earlier is going to be on.
Yeah,
Right,
she went on the card.
Yeah.
Yep.
Nice.
And then the final card, final fight we want to ask you about Siniesta Superbad Estrada versus Tina Rupert.
Wow.
I'd say Estrada. Estrada is just so much more well-rounded, I think. She can do it all as much as I've seen. Like, she has good inside, good outside game. She switches well. And she's just like, she's confident. She goes in there and she does her thing. She imposes her will. She makes people fight her style.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Come back to you, Nai. What are some things you like to do outside of boxing? Some of your hobbies and interests.
I have such a hard time answering this question. Like
football.
No, I mean, obviously there's things I like, but being being kind of Olympic bound or trying to get to a place where I'm going to the Olympics, it just takes every minute of every day almost, like lifestyle wise, hobbies, interests, like I'd love to have more time and like unwind and like relax or like hang out with friends or like there's a lot of hobbies that I do have, but I just honestly don't have enough time or mental energy for most of them because training long hours a couple of times a day, and then I still coach some boxing, I still do some PT, which is like something I'm passionate about. Like, I love teaching people at boxing, and I love working as a private trainer, helping people with their fitness goals and whatnot, but it just is super time consuming. So there's not a whole lot of time left over for other things, but yeah, like I love even like kicking around a ball here and there if I have time, play some soccer. I love just driving, like taking road trips, camping, things like that. I love I'm a creative person, so I love drawing or painting. That's just something I do to like unwind sometimes, and most people wouldn't think because like arts and sports sometimes don't seem to mesh, but I think they do really well because they kind of counterbalance. Yeah, like I had a motorcycle. I used to love riding that as a hobby, but one of my coaches made me get rid of it because
the risk.
Yeah. You hurt.
Yeah. All right. Next question, Nai. What would be the best piece of advice you would give someone that wants to take boxing more seriously and take it to like the amateur level like yourself?
I think just find a gym and find a coach. I saw something like, if you guys follow Mustafa Boxing on Instagram, I'm sure you've seen him post a lot of these things, but he posted this one story that I really loved. It's just like, it only takes one coach that believes in you. And when I was starting out, I was lucky enough to find one person that believed in me enough to kind of just nudge me in the right direction. So I think if my best piece of advice would be to go around, maybe try a few different boxing gyms or boxing classes, and more so than the gym, look at the community of the people who are there and look at the coach who's there, because see if the people will believe in you and will want to work with you. And obviously it goes both ways. You have to, if the goal is to get to an amateur fighting level, then you have to have a certain amount of discipline and be coachable. Otherwise, no good coach is going to want to waste their time on you. But yeah, just go in there with a open mindset and willing to learn, and find the right kind of people and community and a coach that believes in you.
Awesome.
Well
Thank
said.
you.
And then for the final question we got for you now, it's not really a question. It's more so leaving you the floor open to send a message to your fan supporters. So what's something you want to let them know? People are watching this interview now.
I would say that, I've been working super hard for the last few years, and I think I have some big things coming up. Obviously, I'm gonna go and win nationals. Then I'll be going to the Worlds. So keep an eye out. You can follow me on my socials, which I think Instagram for the most part, which is at Nyousha_. And yeah, keep an eye out. I'll be coming out with merch soon and working on a website. And in a couple of years, once I turn pro, I definitely will be shooting for that number one spot. So
watch out, everybody. Watch out.
There you go. Well, Nye, thank you so much for your time. This was a great interview. And actually, wait, before we wrap up, K-Rock comes in with a question. She says, do you think female fighters should seek more high-level male trainers in boxing, like Derek James and Ronnie Shields, more to expand their skill set?
Yeah, I think so. I think any female or male boxer should be trying to do that. For me personally, like I'm hoping to go over to the States at some point. It's tough right now because I have so many competitions and tournaments coming up, but like maybe for a summer or something, I'd like to go over to the States and maybe try to have like a couple of weeks to train with Ronnie Shields or Derek James or those type of trainers, because you can only get better from it. There's no downside. So if you can take something in, I always think even if they're not as high level coaches, you can always learn something new from working with different experienced coaches. I'm not saying try to work with everybody all at once, but taking a few weeks to go around to other places. For example, even me, I over this last year, I went to a different gym in Nelson, um, just to train with another coach who's a friend of my coach's. And I wouldn't say one is better than the other, but it's just like different ways of teaching and different amounts of knowledge. So like I get to hear the same thing with a different perspective, I guess, which sometimes just teaches me or makes me understand it a little bit better. So yeah, I think everyone should be doing that, especially once you get to a certain level, like maybe not when you're starting out, but once you're at a high enough level, it is good to go and maybe join different camps, work with different pro coaches.
Absolutely.
Agreed. Well, everyone, shout out to the live chat. Appreciate the questions and comments. And Nye, again, thank you so much for your time. It's an honor to get to interview you so early in your career. I know there's big things to come in 2023 and beyond. So we wish you the best of luck getting your goal of the Olympics. And we'll be tuning in for your pro career as well.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. This was an awesome chance to talk to you guys. Thanks for having me.
Thanks, Nye. Well,
Thank you.
you're always welcome to come back. All right. Take care. Bye.
Take care.
Bye.
Peace.